Boom! We are on the TruMon Show with the Honorable Midas. How are you?
I'm doing the best I can. Glad to be here with you and going through whether it's history or some cultural views or some reality of what it really is. But we are tuning in with each other,
Exactly.
and I hope that other people can tune in to us, and if they gather any knowledge or ideas that they can share with us, they are welcome also.
Always. Welcome to all the beautiful earthlings of the earth. Yeah. Okay. So today we're gonna talk about the nature of reality. Again, we're gonna reason about that, rezone about the nature of reality. But also, exactly, there is something happening on Earth. Like I'm not here to debate whether uh, it exists or not, if there's a virus or not, or whatever goes around there. No, I'm not behind closed doors of hospitals and stuff and government. But I know that Babylon spread lies. That I know. That's a fact. I have many things that I can relate to support my claim. But what is happening also, there's something very positive happening with all this. And I think that's what we should see, the positivity in there and the humongous opportunity that we have to look at the nature of reality because now many beings have lost their jobs, have lost, or they're forced to stay home, which is sometimes, it takes a tragedy to a bit shake us up and bring us into the light. So, force, often it's force, you get into the light by force, by circumstances that come and force you to face reality. That's what happened to me. And but now we have like a collective tragedy affecting us. Like we're all on lockdown, and some places it's worse than others. Here in Canada, it's not so intense, but I hear other brothers and sisters on Earth that are really getting affected by that, by everything that goes with the lockdown and the Babylonian procedures. So I think we should really take time to do our homework. The opportunity is to do our homework. And again, when they say, me, I like to look at it in a way that, when they send you home, they tell you to go home. Okay, what is home? First of all, what is the home? Is it really the building where I am right now, that stands around me, or it's the building that I have inside, like my heart is my home? So maybe it's time for us, to see it in a different light than what we are told always, then, because they're not going to tell you it's time to go home, time to go into yourself, into your heart, have some great insight with yourself. And so for sure, they're going to say go home, but go home in a building. Like it's, it's a lot of buildings around us in our lives. So that's what they refer always. But I think we should take time, take a pause, take a deep breath, and look at our life and look at reality and everything that surrounds us and be more observant. So, yeah, what do you think about all this, Rasmidas?
Well, for thousands of years, mankind have been governed by a system called church and state. So most people do not try to find out or research truth for themselves. They always rely on the state or the church to tell them what they expect to hear. And most people acknowledge those institutions more than themselves because the church will say that they get their information from either some vision from God or the state will say that they do what they do from practicality and reality, and people must put their trust in them because they know what's best, because people have surrendered their responsibility in the hands of these people. And so what the pandemic, as they call it, has helped us to realize that these people don't have any answer to the crisis. Whether it's them create the crisis or the crisis come by something else, we don't know. But if we search our inner tuition to the best of our knowledge, we will find out that human beings have different views of what go on or what is taking place. So it is very hard to understand the true fact of what is taking place at this time, you know? And what I have learned, I personally have learned and think is not learned. I did know this long time. I did know that materialism do not have no power over the truth or reality. Because we have found out that all these countries that used to exalt themselves about their wealth and their well-being of superior than other people or other countries around the world, we find out that they have come down low to the ground because all of these countries have to run to the institutions that control the material mechanism, which is the banks, to borrow money to solve their economical problem. So, I mean, 6 months ago, when they were riding high, telling the world how high them is, now they are brought down low to the level of everyone else to say all of us is suffering. All of us feel like homeless people. All of us have been ordered to stay at home to avoid the virus or the pandemic, as they call it, from actually doing more damage to people's health and to the surroundings and economical power that have crumbled to the ground. And it's come to the time when progressive or positive people have to look into the scheme of things to realize that money is just a promissory note in controlling and exchanging for human labor. And the powers them that control the monetary system, they will find out how much power that these banks have over countries around the world. And so if you don't have the opportunity to borrow from these banks, you're not going to survive. So the lesson that we can learn from here is how can we empower ourselves to be self-reliant and work together to be self-empowered to control our own destiny and to be less dependent and people that is also dependent on other source or systems. So we find out that they don't really have any power. The people must realize that we have the power and now is the time to work together and see if we can rebuild a new world vibration of positivity and collective harmony and creativity and production of resources that can benefit uh, the inhabitants of this world that is suffering for so long under the yoke of these different different institutions that ruling us, to find out that it is better for us to unite and look into the consequence and to solve our problems and don't give these people more power over us, you know.
I don't have I don't have much issue with the. Hold on, I'm trying to switch the camera. I don't know if it's switched by itself, probably, but I don't know. I have never verified to make sure. So yeah, I have nothing against. Like I'm not against anything. I'm not against police, government, and that is just it's being so intrusive these days. Like the government is very intrusive into our life, telling us what to do, how to which way to walk and to fart and to everything. So it's very, very intrusive. So this is the big problem with society today. If we would be also more responsible, like the word responsibility should resonate a little bit more inside of us, and maybe we would not need another bunch of beings together to take our responsibility for us. So the part that we have let go also of being responsible beings, and we have become very lazy also. The laziness to me is why we don't look into reality more than we do. We don't question, we don't. All this is out of pure laziness. Like, how can you explain it? I don't know how to explain it other than being just lazy. It's not because you're ignorant or like there's always something you can do to get out of your ignorance. And I was talking about that with the PT the other day that ignorance has a cost. That's a great cost to be ignorant. So you have to be very, very on top of your game. You better be step up your game because step it up first and then be on top of it because someone else will take control of your thoughts and everything. So even though now I look at myself and all the thoughts that I have originate from an alphabet soup in my head, pretty much. So they still have a big way of controlling us, which is the alphabet, for sure. A child born in nature, you don't teach them how to write and read and stuff. I don't think they need alphabet soup in their head. So it's a different thing, different vibe, different feeling. So again, I'm not that child that was born in nature. I think I'm like pretty much everyone. I'm born in nature, but de-nurture after and from my true rely from my true environment that I should be in. But I think that's the big problem. It's laziness of our mind and laziness of the mental laziness to not look into reality and to like I'm not debating the fact that there's no sickness going around and even people close to me get affected sometime by either whatever disease it is, but we're not immune against all the disease. You're gonna have there's going to be a time in your life when you might be less at ease than another time, and that's probably due to some flushing happening inside of you. But to say that me, it's just a measure around the whole thing. Like, is it does it does this flu episode that we're having, flu season we're having, justify the fact of closing down everything, like, and secluding people in their home and home arrest and that? I think it's a bit extra exaggerated, if you ask me. No? But anyway, it is what it is. That's the world we live in. That's the, they know that we are lazy, that we don't look at things objectively, and we don't question, so they're gonna do it. They even have a flying car in space now, and people believe that there's a car flying into space. So, you would have put a clown in it, there were a little monkey sitting beside the clown, and they would still have believed it. So anything that the government says, it's the norm to accept. So, unless we look at ourselves and start changing the way we think, start changing the way you think and the way you process your thoughts. That's why I say go within yourself and start looking at you. The moment you're going to see yourself differently, you're going to see others differently, other beings, not just humans, but animals also. The whole thing will shift inside you, and that's what humanity needs, a deep shift of our not only our values but our thoughts, and the way we process our thinking, and if we can even think for ourselves. That's another one.
Well, as you was talking about laziness,
Yeah.
um, I think that derive from dependent. Be-
Yeah.
because most humans are educated to get a job and work, and then they don't have an independent pool or corporation of people that work together and solve problems so that they can be more productive in what they're doing. So when you become dependent, then you are controlled by corporation or institutions. And whether you have education or not, most people are educated to be workers, and a small minority are educated to be rulers. And so for thousands of years, as I was saying, this is how mankind have been groomed to be. It's like you groom like the ants and the bee. You have some thousands of ants who go out and work every day and bring in food, and the king and the queen ants rule the dominion there, just like the bee. And so we want to evolve ourselves from these mentality. And the next thing, we want to find a way how we can do things and not polluting the earth or destroying the environment of the earth. Because man create disease, man create virus, and they telling people that, it just come out of thin air and all these things. I am not saying that somebody go into a lab and produce it, although that can happen, but it can happen from the pollution that all these multinational corporations that is plundering the planet Earth and leave the waste to create viruses and pandemics upon people, and then they have to be rushing to find a solution. So if they is wise enough, they can realize that cutting back on pollution can save a lot of people, a lot of plants, a lot of animals, a lot of insects. Because how long can we continue to plunder and pollute the environment of mankind. We as people have to come together and put a stoppage to it. And the way we can put a stoppage to it is collectively unite together and create a dialogue in which we said, no more will we accept the plundering. And it is time for us to re-educate ourselves. A new form of education which promote unity, respect, and acceptance, and collectively working together and create a new dimension for mankind. A new, and I would say, a new world, because the world is mankind.
Yeah.
You know, so we have to just think about how important these things are. Because if everything happens, we have to rely on what the scientists say. We have to rely on what the doctors say. I'm not saying that these people is not good, but we put into a basket, right? And with this climax now, we are bound to our home because something happened and they didn't know it was going to happen, but they said them going to find a solution. But you cannot find a solution when there you're still plundering and polluting, because it's the waste matter from the industrial complex that create most problem for mankind.
Yeah, they're into the same, pretty much the same motto: problem, reaction, solution. And that's what they bring the problem, the solution also. So sometimes I think we trust them blindly, way too much. Not saying like you that I'm better than a doctor that have done studies in medicine and can be a heart surgeon. And like you would give me a open heart surgery, I would be like, whoa, like because I've never looked into that kind of stuff, but maybe I could have if I would have started younger to study it and stuff. But that's it. There is some people that have done studies, and I respect that. It's not because and there's always been disease and stuff and flu, and I don't think there's one thing that I question is, can you catch the same flu twice? I don't think so. So I think there's always different kind of flu, but we are also a society that like the name, to put name on stuff. Like everything has to have a name, like the beings, the plants, so for sure now you're gonna bring in the new grip or flu, and there's gonna be a name with it. Like to me, it's just that's this part that I think mesmerize the beings of this earth is always naming everything. And having said that, it's the same thing with the COVID. What they do now, it's to me, it's just another flu. I mean, it's just something you get sick from. Most people recover, but also there's some people dying every year of the flu. Like that. That's why I don't see why so take such a measure to protect the people. If you care about us so much, like the government care about the people so much, why isn't the McDonald's banned and all the bad food taken out of the supermarkets and all the toxic, all the poison, the soft drinks, and all this taking up the shelves? But this is the paradox. They pretend to care that they want us to be vaccinated because they care about our health, but then you leave all kinds of bad food in a supermarket. People are obese, high blood pressure, diabetes. Oh, bring it on, bring it on. These are not disease or what? Like this is the sometimes even worse than the flu because you don't recover easily from diabetes. I don't think so. And if you have a high blood pressure, it's the same thing. So sometimes we get affected by disease that are much worse than what we are told, and we don't see it like that because in our books also it cannot only it's not going to happen to us, it's going to happen only to others. So we often put it aside, discard it when we are told. But I think this all has to do also with responsibility. It comes back to being responsible beings and responsible for our health and not trust mega corporation, like you said. And when you say collectively united, you said that something like that. And I think it's hard to come all together into one place, but this is exactly like redoing our thinking. Like not I'm not saying that everyone should think the same, but like at least now the base of our collective thinking is all made up by Babylon, like some kind of fable that we heard or from Babylon. So and then we all think in the same direction. But I think we can, like you said, collectively unite and starting to have an elevated thinking and elevate our thoughts, like something like that. Yeah.
What I meant by collectively is that every nation and every country around the world have a small group of positive people with positive ideas. And if all the different people in different cultures and different countries start to make a move to take more responsibility of their social living and their environment, if this then around the world people will have more control over their welfare,
Yeah.
instead of depending on, as I said, the church or the state. I am not saying that the church or the state do not have their role to play, but people supposed to have control over this church and the state. Because first thing, the church is not a building. The church is mankind itself. So if you take responsibility for yourself, which is the church, and you clean up the church inside of you, then you don't need a building. And you won't need a pastor or a priest to come and tell you how you must relate to the powers that control the universe. You won't have a pastor or a priest to direct you how you must live spiritually or how to deal with your spirituality. You won't have a prime minister or a president with all his advisors that advising him how to advise you or us or we the people. You see? Because we the people will have a collective ideas and philosophy to direct those people what is beneficial to us and what is suitable for us to evolve and grow together as one people. And what has happened for the past 2000 and odd years that we can recall is a small group of elite families that control the economic and the political and the social and the religious entity that control mankind, and let us become dependent, working for them, for their own power, while leave us into a situation where we have to beg and reach out for a handout in which if we learn to be responsible for our own welfare and our own doings, we could do a better job collectively around the world to make things work more profitable for us. Because I understand that good people in Canada can produce certain things, good people in Jamaica can produce certain things, positive people from the United States can produce certain things, and together we have an exchange of what you need and I need to keep us moving.
Yeah. As another channel I watch sometime, it's about gardening, and the guy says you don't have to be self-sufficient in everything. Be self-sufficient in something. And it's true, you don't have to be self-sufficient in everything. I can't. But the stuff that I eat or that I consume that costs a lot of money, that's the stuff I grow. So I
That-
can save on the money, and then I have more money in my pocket. And how do they have power over the beings of this earth? It's a lot with the economical, the money. So
because you have control over what you're eating.
grow your money. Like growing food for me is money, and like when I eat, it's the same thing because I would take money to go buy it in the store. So I prefer grow my money. That's what I do, cucumber and all kinds of stuff.
Because you have control over what you're eating, you're producing what you're eating. That's what I'm talking about. If we produce what we are eating
Yeah.
and have control over what we are eating, then multinational companies and supermarkets will not be controlling what they are selling us, because most of what they're selling us is poison. And those are the said things that is allowing us to become sick.
Why they don't teach gardening in school? That's another thing. Yeah, gardening should be taught in school.
It used to happen when I was a youth coming up and going to school in Jamaica. Every Thursday was gardening day,
Oh,
and for the boys, and girls used to have a day that on Thursday where they learn to bake and sew,
oh,
clothes and all these things. And all of a sudden, the multinational corporation take over, in which they produce everything and you have to buy. And so all these things that we used to grow up with, being learning how to garden, and young ladies learn to bake and sew and do all different kind of things. Those things is out of it. They trample it down because because the multinational corporation control every institution and welfare of the people. And so we look, okay, when I was a youth, you just, you want your pants to make, you buy your pants length and you go to the nearest tailor and you get your pants made. You know, you go to the nearest shoemaker to get your shoes repaired and whatsoever make. You have you have the dressmaker locally who make the dress in the scene. But all those days are passed away because we allow ourselves to be mentally tricked by people who want to be in control. And they design the clothes you must wear and how you must wear it. You understand? And everybody's in that institution designing different style for people. And this is how it goes. And so we lose control over our social liberty and creativity.
yeah. And often you go around with brand names and stuff that you pay for it. You pay to advertise their product. Like it's so nonsense. I found that today I never buy brand name clothes. My wife always asks me, "You prefer plain T-shirt?" Yes, plain T-shirt. That's fine because it's nonsense. I know today, but when I was younger, I was falling for it like pretty much all the youth at this time. And also gardening. When I say teaching gardening, is also like everything related to uh, the plants, like the nutrients that they need, and which plant is more acidic, more alkaline, and the nutrients you can give, the amendment to the soil. I would have loved to learn that when I was in, let's say, secondary school, but it wasn't existing. The takeover was already in process in my time. You're a little older than me, so when you were young, it was different also than when I was younger. So that's it. Me, there was no That's the other thing. Also, today it's easy to do propaganda because of internet and the TV and the news. Like go back in 1970, the propaganda wasn't as heavy as it is today, right?
There was less propaganda because I was living in the country and we have one radio with one station, RGR Broadcasting Corporation.
Yeah.
You know? And there was no TV. So we were more creative.
Exactly.
We have to build our own toys. We didn't have any one carrying us to the store to buy toys when certain time of the year comes. We create our own, we make our own toys, we create our own games. The only games we never create was like soccer and cricket. But all other else game that we play, we created. Some were created by the river, some was created in the bushes.
Yeah. Exactly.
We play marbles, we create our own marbles game because we didn't have things to distract us, you know, from who we was growing up. And when we look forward on those days, I have to cherish those days within myself because the world has changed so very much from what it used to be. You know, there is so much war and hatred going around that people forget who them really is.
And just a change also, we don't need to go back in like 1950, but just from take it from the 80s to today, it's like 40 years. Me, I'm born in 73, so in 83 I was like end of the 80s, beginning of 90s. I remember, and still there, I didn't have internet, nothing like that. Like in my youth, when I was a teenager, there was no internet, and the world, I don't know, it didn't seem as bad as it's gone to be today, with all the propaganda and stuff. So yeah, for sure, that's part of the agenda also. But I see the internet also. Why is there's the word net in there? You look at the words again, internet, net. Usually you have a net to catch fish, and usually you use the internet to go on social media and stuff. So, is it to just to catch the fish? Like you want to me, that's what it is. Babylon is about catching fish. And that's why the whole story of Jesus, the fisherman and stuff, catching fish. And that's what it is. It's about catching fish. And people go deliberately in the internet, which is the ocean of fish. And then so often they get caught in a trap. Exactly.
Well, I was looking into that, so it's nice that you was looking into it.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
I'm looking into the word internet, which kind of represent international networking and mind controlling.
Exactly.
Because what they have done is give you free will to speak your mind, to speak your ideas, to speak what you are feeling, and then them can monitor and say, well, people is thinking this way and people is thinking that way. We must do something to control them this way because they are getting too smart. So let us make the net stronger.
Exactly. And if you look at the word net, is the word 10 the other way, like 10. 10 is 1 0. That's the language of the internet. It's one and zeros. So it's directly related. I'm sure they come on. They don't invent words and not look at the nature of reality, for sure. So like us, so for sure they have built something maybe great for communication, but also great for propaganda. This-
Yes, because it's not no propaganda is going on, you know. It's thousands of years propaganda has been going on because they have to use propaganda to control the mentality or the vitality of people. Because without the propaganda, the small groups of elites in, in 200 years ago, they used to call them the royal family.
Yeah, the royals.
Yes, they are royal
Yeah,
family that rule and control the earth. Now they call them the global elites that rule and control and have domination over everything that exists on this planet earth. Because listen, if they could control the sunshine, you'd have to pay sunshine rate to get some sunshine. Just like how you have to pay a water rate to get some water. If if they could control the breath of life, you will have to pay to live. Don't you see how it really works?
yeah, yeah.
Because everything in Babylon is privilege. You have to pay for privilege. You pay for privilege to live in a house. You pay for privilege to drive your car on the road. You have to get a license. You have to pay privilege to live when you are sick with certain symptoms. Because they create the sickness. Because the institution of the medical association and the pharmaceutical companies can cooperate together how to control human being health and to keep you wanting their help to survive.
Yeah, and that's why also they try to, like you say, control is very important to them, and that's why also they try to control the weather. Like the weather is another thing they're trying in many ways. That they have many devices all over this earth to induce either stuff in the ionosphere and a sphere. I don't know if it's a sphere, but the layer up there, ionosphere. It sounds like we're in a sphere, but maybe I don't know. I don't know where we are. That's the beauty of it. It's like that's I was talking with Gavin earlier today, and where are we exactly? That's another great topic for the nature of reality. But again, it's been defined. It's been defined. It's like everything is defined to you in this world. So if you don't look into look yourself into the nature of things, you're gonna have something predefined to you, and then all your thoughts arise from that after, and you're like a drone robot in Babylon, going to the slaughterhouse of the mind slaughterhouse, and they're gonna that's it, have you on the chopping block.
Yes, it's like the word flu. they make it look like catching a cold is look so bad. So they have to label it as flu because you must have to have cold naturally because it helps to clean out your mucous membrane. You know?
In French, I think it's called la grippe. That's the grip, like you have a grip on something, like
Yes.
grip. But in English, it's flu. Flu, it's like for us when we have the le flu en français, it's more a diarrhea. Like so, the mix up in both. Like in one language, it's get to represent something that stays stuck within you for days and days that doesn't get flushed, but they use the word flu like flush, flu, flush. Anyway, it's very confusing. Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's just is a sign. Yes, your body. I call my instructor.
Yeah.
Is showing you that you need to flush out. You need to clean up inside because they don't teach people in the industrial world that every 3 months you need to flush out your system. You know, people live for years upon years upon years and don't flush out their system.
And something else I've been doing lately is a sinus rinse. Like it's very helpful. Like this is the same thing we should do. We know with all the chemicals we breathe everywhere and stuff, we never rinse our nose and stuff. And you can do it with salt solution or something, and you just push it up your nose, and it's gonna rinse the whole inside, and a lot of mucus goes away. And the mucus can cause a lot of problem inside sometimes. So yeah.
Yeah, slightly little, slightly little salt water can do it. Just slightly little salt in a little warmish water, and you just inhale it up your nostril, and it clean you out.
You come from a country, Jamaica, okay, that the ocean is right beside you guys, like you're in the ocean. What did you used to do with salt water from the ocean? I'm sure it has some health benefit, like maybe rinse your nose or something. Did you used to go get water in the ocean and bring it home to do something with it?
No, because there's so much rivers and spring in Jamaica.
Okay.
You see?
Okay.
Yeah. You need a shower, what we used to do, we used to have a tub, and we soap up ourselves in the tub and wash off the soap, and then just go down the river and go just have a nice swim because we never want the soap water to go into the river because from those days, my grandparents used to tell me that the sulfur from the soap and all these things will destroy the environment of the water. And moreover, we used to have a bush named Kwaku bush that when you beat it up with stone, it's sod.
Oh.
So we used to use that bush
Yeah.
as soap to wash our skin
Wow.
because I never really did deal with soap. It's when I come out of that environment, then I learned to deal with soap.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of natural things out there with plants. Because first to recall, plant is part of us and we are part of plants. You know? Because what we breathe out is what the plant take in, and what the plant breathe out, that's what we take in. We plant and mankind correspond with each other more than any other thing on the planet Earth. Plant is the nearest thing to us, you know? And people don't respect the plant. That's why people are chopping down the forest and going on like things. And there's a lot of plants out there that could help us medically if we just try to learn to understand, because the pharmaceutical companies, they have medical science who study the plants and get the chemical out the plants and then create their so-called medicine.
Yeah.
You know, they have to do that. And we don't realize that. But take for instance, the ocean water is very important also, because when we go to the ocean in Jamaica, it's like we go to a sauna, go get a bath, you know, because the ocean is warm. The water is warm. So it's like you're going to a sauna and you get your warm and the mineral salt water there help you.
Yeah.
But when you're living in a concrete jungle where everything you have to buy, if you want to go to the beach, you have to pay. Some part in Jamaica, if you want to go to the beach, you have to pay. When I was growing up, you don't pay to go to the beach. You know? You don't pay to go to the Duns River Fall. When I was growing up, you just go to those places free. Now you have to pay, because you know what happened? The people of Jamaica allow themselves to be captured and conquered by multinational corporations who seize their resources for their benefit and selling it back to them.
Yeah, it's exactly.
So they are in a net, as what you say. It's not only the internet alone.
Yeah.
It is the multinational corporation net. That's why they say you get independence, but you don't get independence. You are in the pen. You get in the pen because they pen you around. They control you. That's why the song that I sing, Rastaman in Exile. 7 walls surround I, can't you see? Rastaman in exile, will you set him free? You know, Rastaman don't mean I alone, you know. Rastaman mean, or Rasta people mean, every progressive human being that is living on this planet Earth that want to be free from this system, so we can be a collective group of people working together to solve our problem, that we are not dependent on people humming over us, telling us what we should do and what we cannot do, because we are intelligent enough to solve our problem.
It's one of my favorite songs of the Honorable Peter Tosh when he says, an intelligent man and I love intelligent people." And he goes on and with the whole thing. Yeah. No, it's a very, listen, whether we like it or not, that's what's going on right now. And if we don't do something to change it, no one else will. So it starts with each and every earthling of this earth, for sure. And it's up to us to face the reality of our being first. Like I say often, it's good to face the reality of this world, the Babylon and all, but it's the reality of your being first that you should look at and start to change for the benefit of yourself first, and then you can go for the benefit of others. But everyone can benefit from a change that would occur within themselves, for sure.
The greatest change we need is how to accept and respect the female part of us, because we have grown into a system which is macho man controlled.
Macho man control.
Yes, it's a macho man control system, man. And I see everything. You ever realize, like when you read the Bible, the most important things in the Bible, God don't go talk to a man and don't talk to the woman.
Exactly.
You ever realize that? All important, all things that is important for the benefit. Look on this word. Mankind.
We're supposed to be kind.
You see, you see this word? Mankind. Because you know what happened? People have not been educated that the word man mean male and female. So what the male have done is capture the essence of everything. That's why first I have to tell you, say, well, you know, when God was making us, he makes me first, the male, and then he go into my ribs and take out her ribs and make the woman, you know. All those things is really controversial because that is showing you dominion over the woman. So at all time, and they always refer to God as he.
And in French, that's the one rule in French that's in the language. It's the masculine always over the feminine. Le masculin l'emporte sur le féminin. And that's what they teach you from the beginning in school. That's one grammar rule in French is the masculine is over the feminine. So it goes far, even in the language.
Yeah.
Not just in our doings and our, because look at only in their circus, the politics circus, that women just here in Canada, they weren't allowed to vote before 1960, maybe, if I don't know if I'm mistaken, but they never had the right to vote or anything. So women have always been, I don't know, not by me, but by society, put aside and when it should be in front, but that's the inverted world we live in.
Yes.
Exactly.
Because that's what the institution created.
Exactly.
You know, the institution created a thing that man is superior over woman. You know, and if a woman get too much power, she going to be a collective bargain of trouble. That's how they look at it. Look at the Catholic Church. As young a man can be a pope.
Yeah.
You know how these things work? Yes.
Catholics are big on that.
Look. Yes, because these are the running. So when we're talking about unity, we have to learn to unite ourselves with the female part of us first.
Yeah.
Before we can have universal unity. And people is not seeing that. Because when you live into this macho man system or macho men, I not call it man. Because man represent male and female. Because to be a complete man,
macho man.
It take one male and one female to be a complete man. But when you live into an environment of macho men system in which he controlled everything and everyone, and then he's telling you that he got his power from the Almighty, and you say, well, with the Almighty there, I would like to speak to the Almighty to find out how come you possess so much authority over I. And whenever you try to escape from the net, then they label you.
Oh yes, and they will.
You know,
them too. So
we don't want TruMon program on this internet here because he's influencing people against what we set up in the net.
Because TruMon's got a pair of scissors and he's gonna make a hole in the net and the fish will come out.
Yeah. It's like the story with the lion and the net. They catch a lion and put him in a net.
Yeah.
And then one day the mice come and say, what happened? How come you're in the net? Him say, man, some people just come and just do me like this. The mice said, let I free you up and cut up the net till the lion could escape.
Yeah.
This is how it is today. When you listen to these story, you can follow this story carefully. That's why the last time I was speaking, I was telling you about Humpy Dumpy.
Yeah.
You know, at this moment, Humpy Dumpy has a great fall. All the king horses and all the king men cannot put Humpy Dumpy together again. And then when we don't realize that this is a great opportunity for all the spiritual, cultural, you know, progressive people around the world, this is a great opportunity to realize that when we allow these people to have control over us, when they fall, we go down with them and we go down worse.
Yeah.
So I hope we can learn from this situation to rise above what is taking place and be creative so that we can move forward respecting and accepting and loving each other, which is the greatest thing we can do from here.
Exactly. Well, that was a very, very interesting once again. Thank you very much, Midas, for your full presence and power here on the TruMon Show again. And I will see you in the near future, that's for sure. We will determine with Nan when is the best moment for us to get together. But like we said, this should be seen as a huge opportunity for us to do our homework, to go within and to, you know, not to reconnect, but because we've probably never been linked with our inner being. So it's time to establish a link to your inner being. I don't like to use the word connection.
True.
Enough con, enough con, but that's what they want. They want control, you know, the troll or
You hear the word con,
that's it.
conning you.
Yeah, they're conning you. So many
Yeah,
cons in
it's
this world.
control, it's conning you.
Yeah, yeah,
It no matter if they want to start it with C-U-N or C-O-N, it's still pronounced as con.
consequence. What's that?
Yes. But all I can say is wake up everybody, no more sleeping in bed. No
Exactly.
more backward thinking, time for thinking ahead.
You know, that's the other thing. By giving them bed and sofas, they know that also we're going to be a bit lazy on those bed and sofas. So it's time to get off the couch and start doing your homework, go back into nature or go to nature and, you know, just establish that symbiosis, I think it's called, when you have a good relation with everything that surrounds you. I think that's time for that, for many beings to, yeah, look at their life and the life around them and give thanks for life. Boom.
Give thanks for life. Clean up your vitality.
Exact. Thank you
They
very
call it mentality. You hear that word again, men.
much.
But just clean up your vitality.
Exact. Boom.
Yes.
So thank you very much, everyone, and we will be back shortly to be continued.
Yes.
Oh,
Give thanks to everyone. Thanks to everyone. And
that's it.
I sent my heartfelt sympathy to each and every family around the world that is struggling with this virus. Hope we can learn something positive from this
That's
and unite together and free ourselves.
boom. We're out.
Boom.
See ya.